many waters.
And you know who this whore is? This is this religion that came with the Roman Empire, that all of these other religions came out of, that you call Christian today. Mm-hmm. This is the mother of false Christianity right here that you're reading about. Go ahead and read.
With whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth had been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Go ahead and read.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication.
You know what was in this cup? Bad doctrine. And then he said that he saw the inhabitants of the earth, they have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And over all that bad doctrine, you know, like we read over in Isaiah, he said they are drunk not with wine, and they stagger but not from strong drink. You know what they drunk off of? They drunk off of bad doctrine. And he said the inhabitants of the earth, that is us. Everybody that's on this planet is an inhabitant of the earth. And he said the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And if you came up through that false Christianity, then you have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication at some point. Yep. I was drunk with it. Every one of us been drunk with it at some point, but you got sober. You know how you got sober? Because you took on the word of God. But before that, you was drunk. You understand what I'm saying? And if you have not taken on the word of God, you are still drunk. Because that is what they have been feeding you. He told you, you know, you get a book to the learned, and he said, you know, I can't read this. The book is sealed unto me. Then you give it to the unlearned guy, and he said, I can't read it, for I am unlearned. So what did they give you? They gave you the precepts of men. They gave you the wine that was in the cup. Because he started out by telling you they are drunk but not with wine, and they stagger but not from strong drink. They're drunk off of that bad doctrine. Go ahead and read some more.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great.
Go ahead.
The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Now he said, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Who are the daughters? You know, all these churches that you call Protestants, they came out of the Catholic Church. And that's who this woman is that you're reading about here. That's who gave you Christmas. That's who gave you Good Friday and Easter and Palm Sunday and going to heaven. That's who gave you all of that stuff. And then when the daughters came out of her, did they change any of that? Nope. Don't they got Easter? Don't they got Christmas? Yep. Don't they got Palm Sunday? Don't they got the first day of the week at the Sabbath day?
They got it all, sure enough.
So that bad doctrine that she came up with, when the daughters came out of her, they kept that same doctrine. So now, this is the Gentiles that we are reading about here. You know, we read about Israel. Paul warned you about them, didn't he? He said they subvert whole houses, teaching things they ought not for filthy lucre's sake. And he said, beware of the circumcision, didn't he? Let's go, and that's Israel. Now, you're reading about the Gentiles. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. 7 and 7. Daniel wrote about this woman. Daniel used the term little horn. But it is that same religious government that we just got through reading about in Revelation chapter 17. We're going to pick it up at verse 7. Daniel 7, and we'll begin reading at verse 7. 7 and 7. Okay, go ahead and read.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped a residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. Now
this is Rome that we're reading about it. This is the beast that we read about in the 17th chapter of Revelation that woman came with, that set up on this beast. Go ahead and read on.
And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
Now this little horn is the same as that woman that we read about in the 17th chapter of Revelation. This is the religious government that came with the Roman Empire. Go ahead and read.
Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man.
Go ahead.
And a mouth speaking great things.
Now skip down to verse 23, and I'm going to show you what this little horn did. Go ahead and read.
Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth.
Go ahead.
Which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth.
Go ahead.
And shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
Go ahead and read.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
Now, we're not concerned with none of this today. I just want to show you what that little horn is going to do. Go ahead and read on.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
Yes, he is. Go ahead and read.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Yeah, he going to do that too, but go ahead and read.
And think to change times and laws.
And he going to think to change both times and laws, and he's already started doing that. You understand what I'm saying? He is the one that changed, that tried to, rather. He didn't change it, because if God says the 7th day, it is the 7th day. All man can do is try to change it. But he is the one that tried to change the Sabbath day. He is the one that came up with a different calendar. God gave you a calendar. He said at the beginning of the month, start at the new moon. But this little horn came up with his own calendar. He picked a day, and he came up, and that's when he started the month. God's time start, his day started at the going down of the sun, right? You know what the little horn said? No. We're going to start it at 12:01 midnight. So now he done changed times, and he done changed laws. Go ahead and finish that verse.
And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time.
Now, we ain't concerned with that either. Now, where did this little horn get his power? You know where he got it from? He got it from the devil. So when you follow his doctrine, then you are following the doctrine of devils. Let's go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 20. 1 Corinthians 10, and we'll begin reading at verse 20. 10 and 20. 1 Corinthians 10, and we'll begin reading at verse 20. You know, John wrote in Revelation that the dragon, which is the devil, gave this beast his power, seat, and great authority. Now, when you listen to him, then you are listening to the doctrine of devils. Let's start reading here at 1 Corinthians 10, and we're going to begin reading at verse 20. When you get it, go ahead and read.
But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to God.
Go ahead and read.
And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils.
Go ahead.
You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils.
He said you can't drink out of both cups. You got to make up your mind which cup you're going to drink out of, because you can't drink out of both of them. You know, you got some people think that they're going to serve God their way. No, you can't do that. You cannot drink out of the cup of God and the cup of devils. You can't drink out of both of them. You know, kind of like Elijah said to Israel. You know, if God be God, serve him, and Baal be God, serve him. How long you going to halt between two opinions? You know, you going to either serve one or you going to serve the other. But you can't serve them both. So he's just, this is what Paul is saying here. You know, you can't drink of the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Go ahead and read.
You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils.
He said you can't be partakers of both of them. So now when you follow this doctrine that was given by this woman, you are following the doctrine of the devil. That's whose doctrine you are following. Let's go now to Jeremiah chapter 16, and we're going to pick it up at verse 14. Jeremiah 16, we're going to pick it up at verse 14. 16 and 14. See what the Lord had Jeremiah to write. Because Israel done messed it up, and then the Gentiles came along and they done messed it up too. So nobody's innocent. Jeremiah chapter 16, and we're going to pick it up at